case of the Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway, which this one is close to home, okay? Okay, this one's close. This one is not that far away from where I live, so this is getting personal, and I'm gonna be just gonna be reading it over here because I haven't done, a bunch of research or anything. So we are just going to get right into it. On August 15th, 1982, Robert Ainsworth, 41, stepped into his rubber raft and began his descent south down the Green River toward the outer edge of Seattle's city limits. It was a trip he had made on many occasions, yet this time it would be different. As he drifted slowly downstream, he noticed a middle-aged, balding man standing by the riverbank, and a second younger man sitting in a nearby pickup truck. Ainsworth suspected that the men were out for the day of fishing. He asked the older man if he had caught anything. The man replied that he had not. According to Smith and Gillian's book, The Search for the Green River Killer, the man standing then asked Ainsworth if he found anything, to which Ainsworth replied, "Just this old single tree." Soon after, the two men left in the old pickup truck, and Ainsworth continued to float down the river. Moments after, he found himself surrounded by death. As he peered into the clear waters, his gaze was met by staring eyes. A young black woman's face was floating just beneath the surface of the water, her body swaying beneath with the current. Believing it might be a mannequin, Ainsworth attempted to snag the figure with a pole. Accidentally, the raft overturned as he tried to dislodge the figure from a rock, and Ainsworth fell into the river. To his horror, he realized that the figure was not a mannequin, but a dead woman. Seconds later, he saw another floating corpse of a half-nude black woman, partially submerged in the water. Quickly, Ainsworth swam toward the riverbank, where the truck stood earlier. In shock, he sat down and waited for help to arrive. Within a half hour, he noticed a man with two children on bicycles. He stopped them, told them of his gruesome discovery, and asked them to get the police. Before long, a policeman arrived at the scene and questioned Ainsworth about his find. The officer disbelievingly walked into the shallow river and reached out toward the ghostly form. The officer immediately called for backup. Soon after reinforcement arrived at the scene, detectives sealed off the area and began a search for evidence. During the search, a detective made another discovery. He found a third body, that of a young girl who was partially clothed. Unlike the other two girls, this one was found in a grassy area less than 30 feet from where the other victims lay in the water. It was obvious that she had died from asphyxiation. The girl had a pair of blue pants knotted around her neck. She showed signs of a struggle because she had bruises on her arms and legs. She was later identified as Opal Mills, 16. It was believed that she had been murdered within 24 hours of her discovery. Following an examination of the bodies at the scene, Chief Medical Examiner Donald Rie determined that the three girls died of strangulation. The two girls found in the water, later identified as Marcia Chapman, 31, and Cynthia Hines, 17, were both found to have pyramid-shaped rocks lodged in their vaginal cavities. They were both held down by rocks in the water. Rie further determined that Chapman, a mother of two, had gone missing 2 weeks earlier, had been dead for over a week. She she had shown advanced signs of decomposition. However, Hines was believed to have been in the river for a period of only 7 days. The 3 bodies were not the only ones to be found in and around Washington State's Green River. Several days earlier, the body of a woman named Deborah Bonner was discovered. Her nude body had been found slumped over a log in the Green River. She too had been strangled to death. Just a month earlier, another young girl identified as Wendy Lee Caulfield was found strangled and floating in the Green River. Moreover, 6 months prior to Caulfield's discovery, the body of her friend Leanne Wilcox was found several miles from the river in an empty lot. It was not believed that the Green River killer murdered Wilcox, but the opinion of the investigators has been recently challenged. Within the space of 6 months, 6 bodies have been discovered in or near the river. The police detectives at the scene quickly realized that there was a serial killer on the loose. They knew that they had to find and catch him as soon as possible before any more women disappeared. A special task force was assembled of King County detectives to investigate the Green River murders. According to the Seattle Times, it was the largest police task force ever assembled since the Ted Bundy murders, which was less than a decade earlier. Major Charles Kraske, I think that's how you pronounce it, Kraske, the head of the Criminal Investigation Division, and Detective Dave Raychard. I'm not the best with names, so I apologize. Raychard of the King County Major Crime Squad led the team. They enlisted the help of FBI serial killer profiler John Douglas and criminal investigator Bob Keppel, who was known for his unique and successful approach of compiling evidence in the Ted Bundy case 8 years earlier. The investigation got off to a shaky start because a massive influx of information swamped the police force within a relatively short period of time. They simply did not have the means to process the ever-increasing amount of data and evidence, and much of it was lost, misplaced, or overlooked entirely. In fact, the situation got so bad that at one point they enlisted the help of volunteers to assist the police in the ongoing investigation. During their investigation, detectives learned that many people of the murdered girls knew each other and shared a similar history of prostitution. Investigators decided to begin their search for the killer in the area where the girls were known to frequent. They conducted hundreds of interviews with many prostitutes who worked in the main strip in Seattle, stretching from South 139th Street to South 272nd Street. Investigators tried to obtain information on any suspicious characters they might have encountered. However, many of the girls were reluctant to talk because of their blatant mistrust for the police. One of the prostitutes who worked the strip filed a report with police stating that a man who raped her made reference to the Green River murders. Soon after the report, the task force began to search for the assailant. On August 20th, 1982, the police announced that they had him in custody as a potential suspect in the Green River murders. However, they were unable to find any plausible evidence connecting him to the crime. He was eventually released and the search resumed for the killer. There were other prostitutes who filed reports with the police that were of special concern to the task force. It was believed that the reports could be related to the Green River murders. Interviews taken by 2 separate prostitutes claimed that a man in a blue and white truck abducted them and attempted to kill them. According to one account by Sue solicited her. Once Widmark was in the truck, he pointed a pistol to her and hit to her head and sped off toward the highway. He took her to a desolate road, turned off the engine, and proceeded to violently her. He allowed her to dress while he began to drive away from the scene with her still in the car. While driving, he made reference to the recent river murders, while continuing to hold a gun to her head. Fearing for her life, she managed to escape from the vehicle while at a stoplight. Widmark was able to make out part of the registration number of the truck before the man sped away. A similar incident happened to Deborah Estes, 15, who filed a report with police in late August 1982 concerning a rape. Estes told police that she was walking down the highway when a man in a blue and white pickup truck approached her and offered her a ride. She accepted and climbed into the vehicle. To her amazement, the man pulled a pistol out and pointed it at her head. He violently forced her to give him oral sex before releasing her into the woods, handcuffed and driving off. She immediately fled the scene looking for help. Seeing an emerging pattern that could have been related to the Green River murders, the task force decided to follow the lead and search for the truck and driver. They hoped that new information concerning the man would lead them to a break in the case. That September, a meat butcher named Charles Clinton Clark was pulled over in his blue and white truck while driving along Seattle's main strip. After a background check was conducted, it was learned that Clark owned 2 handguns. Investigators believed that Clark might be the man that they were looking for. They obtained his driver's license photo and showed it to both Widmark and Estes. Both women positively identified Clark as their attacker. Clark was arrested and his house and vehicle were searched. The police found the 2 handguns that were allegedly used in the assaults. After interrogation by police, Clark admitted to attacking the women. However, there was speculation as to whether he was the Green River killer, because he was known to release his victims following the attack. Moreover, Clark had a solid alibi during the time many of the Green River victims disappeared. When Clark was being booked with the of Widmark and Estes, a 19-year-old Mary Bridget Meehan disappeared during a walk. Meehan was more than 8 months pregnant and went missing near the Western Six Motel. The motel was located on the strip and was a frequent hangout in a workplace for many of the prostitutes that fell victim to the Green River killer. Based on a hunch, Detective Rager began to suspect that one of the volunteer civilians working on the case might be the Green River killer. A 44-year-old out-of-work taxi driver became the focus of the investigation and was vigorously interviewed by the police. They were concerned because 2 weeks prior to Meehan's disappearance, 2 16-year-old girls, Cassie Ann Lee and Terry Renee Milligan, mysteriously disappeared. They too were thought to have a history of prostitution. It was suspected that they had fallen victim to the Green River killer. The taxi driver seemed to fit the profile of the killer devised by FBI agent John Douglas. According to Douglas, the Green River killer was a confident yet impulsive middle-aged man who would most likely frequent the murder scenes in order to reenact the crimes in his mind. The killer was probably familiar with the area and was likely to have deep religious convictions. Moreover, Douglas believed that he might have an active interest in police work, especially the investigation into the recent murders. The killer might even contact the police in an effort to assist in the ongoing investigation. 26th, 1982, the decomposing remains of a 17-year-old prostitute named Giselle A. Laverne were discovered. She had gone missing for more than 2 months before a biker found her nude body near abandoned houses south of SeaTac International Airport. She had been strangled to death by a pair of men's black socks. Intriguingly, at the time of her disappearance, she was blonde. Yet when her body was discovered, her hair was dyed black. Although her body was not found in the direct vicinity of the now infamous river, police believe that she was a victim of the Green River Killer. Between September 1982 and April 1983, approximately 14 girls disappeared. Those missing included Mary Meehan, Deborah Estes, Denise Bush, Shonda Summers, Shirley Sherrill, Rebecca Marrero, Colleen Brockman, Alma Smith, Dolores Williams, Gail Matthew, Andrea Childers, Sandra Cavern, Amy Guy Pitzer, and Marie Malver. Most of the girls, ages ranging from between 15 and 23, were known prostitutes who frequented the Strip. The Green River Task Force's attention was temporarily drawn to one possible suspect, allegedly involved in the disappearance of the last girl to go missing, Mary Malver. On April 30th of 1983, Malver's boyfriend saw her talking with a potential customer in a dark-colored truck as she was sitting on the Strip. The boyfriend claimed that she saw Malver get into the truck before it sped away. According to Smith and Gillian, Malver's boyfriend stated that Malver and the unknown man seemed to be engaged in an argument. Suspicious of the driver of the truck, the boyfriend followed him. Before long, the truck with its girlfriend in it gave chase and eventually disappeared when the boyfriend was held up by a stoplight. It was the last time he ever saw his girlfriend. He later notified the police of Malver's disappearance. Less than a week after the incident, he, along with Malver's father and brother, spotted the suspicious truck near the place where he initially lost sight of it days earlier. They followed the truck to a house located on South 348th Street and called the police. The police eventually arrived at the house and spoke with the owner, Gary Ridgway, who denied having ever seen Malver. Satisfied, the police left the residence and failed to pursue the matter any further. A similar truck to that owned by Ridgway was also involved in the April disappearance of a young prostitute named Kimmy Guy Pitzer. While in the process of turning a trick, Pitzer's pimp saw her getting into a dark green pickup truck with an attached camper. He described the driver of the vehicle as having a pock-marked face. He watched as the two drove off, and he never saw Pitzer again. He later informed police, but the information concerning Pitzer's disappearance and Malver's was never fully connected. By the spring of 1983, the investigation into the Green River Killer and related murders was collapsing. The task force detectives realized that the probability of the taxi driver being the killer was low, yet they continued to keep him as a prime suspect. They had no new leads, and prostitutes continued to rapidly disappear throughout the city. The police got many tips. The task force was unable to keep up with a massive influx of information. They enlisted the help of Bob Keppel to help organize the mountain of information. Witness accounts connected with the crimes were in total disarray. The first thing that was needed was a complete reorganization and accurate categorization of all data. Then, once that was completed, similarities and dissimilarities among the cases needed to be identified in order to find common threads, possibly connecting the murders to one or more killers. There was no doubt that a successful and thorough investigation would cost the country a lot more time and money than they had previously expected. Already the investigation was the largest operation in the history of the country. The amount of money needed to implement Keppel's suggestions would far exceed the estimated $2 million. However, something needed to be done in an effort to stop the murderous rampages of the killer. On May 8th, 1983, another body was discovered that was later identified as Carol Ann Christensen, who was 21. Her remains were found by a family hunting for mushrooms in a wooded area near Maple Valley. When Christensen's body was found, the killer displayed her corpse in an unusually gruesome way. Christensen was found with her head covered by a brown paper bag. When it was removed, it was found that she had a fish carefully placed on top of her neck. Smith and Julian state that the killer also placed another fish on her left breast and a bottle between her legs. Her hands were placed crossed over her stomach, and freshly ground beef was placed on top of her left hand. Further examination revealed that she was strangled with a cord. Intriguingly, she also showed signs of having been in water at some point, even though the river was miles away. The task force speculated that she was yet another victim of the Green River Killer. During the spring and summer of 1983, 9 more young women, many of whom were prostitutes, disappeared. In June, the unidentified remains, which were believed to be of a 17 to 19-year-old white woman, was found on Southwest Tallaton Road. On August 11th, the body of missing Shonda Summers was discovered near the SeaTac Airport. One day later, the remains of another body, which remain yet identified, which was found at the SeaTac Airport North Site. The fall and winter of 1983 would also yield as many disappearances and even more corpses. Between September and December of 1983, 9 more women went missing and 7 bodies were discovered, all of whom were believed to have been abducted and murdered by the Green River Killer. The missing women, who are mostly prostitutes, included Debbie Aberthany, 26, Tracy Ann Winston, 19, and more. Those whose bodies were discovered included Dolores Williams, 17, who had gone missing March 8th of 1983. Her remains were discovered on September 18th at Star Lake. That same day, the remains of Gail Matthews, 23, were also discovered at Star Lake. Over the next few months, the bodies of 5 more women were discovered. On October 15th, the skeletal remains of Yvonne and Tosh, who was last seen on May 31st, was found near Sioux Creek on Auburn Black Diamond Road. She was one of the few victims to have a missing persons report filed on her. 12 days later, the partially buried skeleton of Constance Ann was found in an area south of SeaTac Airport. And if you see me smiling, it's like looking up at the camera and smiling sometimes. This shit is uncomfortable, okay? victims were later identified as Kelly Ware, who was 22. The killer's deadly rampage claimed 2 more victims whose bodies were discovered before the new year. On November 13th, following an extensive search of several lots surrounding an area of south of SeaTac near South 192nd Street, the badly decomposed remains of Mary Meehan and her unborn baby were found. 1 month later, on December 15th, the skull of Kimmy Guy Bitzer was found in Auburn, Washington, near Mountain View Cemetery. It seemed as if the killer found a new burial site to place his victims. It would be the 5th known dumping ground used for the disposal of the bodies. 2 weeks following Bitzer's discovery, the Green River Task Force increased by more than half due to the increasing number of murders in the area. It was feared many more murders would occur in the coming months. Their predictions would prove to be correct. Okay. This is going to be a multiple part video. And this story gets pretty graphic. So I don't want to throw that all at you at once. But if you guys do enjoy hearing stories, or you do get interested by true crime stories, please let me know in the comments down below. I will make another video of part 2 tomorrow, so you guys don't have to wait very long if you're seeing this now. What a horrible dude. What a horrible guy. And I've already heard about this case multiple times. And I live just outside of Seattle. And so it's close, and I grew up there, so hearing all of the street